structural damage. Notify UGI. And they need him up there ASAP.
Medic 9, the Dick's Sporting Goods, Wilkes-Barre Township Hub Plaza for building collapse.
We start today with a tornado that caused severe damage in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Weather Service confirms it was indeed a tornado that touched down in Wilkes-Barre Township, Luzerne County, PA last night.
Called an EF2 tornado, packing winds of up to 130 miles per hour. Wilkes-Barre Township officials say it was one of the worst weather events to ever hit the area.
My name is Robert Tamboro. I am the trustee and general partner of TFP Limited. Back in the mid to early 90s, there was an idea that was put forth to construct and develop a multi-purpose arena, such as the one that you see today in Mohegan Sun Arena. And with that idea, there were ideas that were put forth to construct a new exit on Interstate 81 and to also connect that exit indirectly to Mundy Street and to reconstruct Mundy Street behind the Wyoming Valley Mall. At that time, my father was leasing some office space in an area around where AT&T Wireless is today. And a representative from Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse was in the site was in the area scouting for a new store location. He thought that the area where the Arena Hub is currently located would be a great area. However, there were some hurdles that had to be overcome in terms of infrastructure because Mundy Street was not a 4 or 5 lane highway as it is today. There were no utilities, the landscape was very rough, and there was no access to the interstate. So there had to be some upgrades to the existing infrastructure in order for that to happen. So my father got interested in the idea, felt comfortable enough from an entrepreneurial standpoint to purchase the properties that are now part of the Arena Hub Plaza.
And we learned as we went along, and then, you know, it grew to about 480,000 square feet. And the thing about we're committed to make it attractive, and I attribute that to my son, Robert. He gets good landscapers. There's always flowers. We maintain it real well, and we get a lot of compliments from the store owners about how nice it is and how clean it is and how we make it attractive. And people like to go to a place that looks nice. 1972, woke up in the morning and they said, you got to evacuate. I said, what are they talking about? The river. Anyway, the river come over and we went up to my mother's house up in Harding and stayed there. A couple of days later, I went into my house. The water was up to my waist, and the water had receded at that time. We had 18 feet of water in our house in Kingston on North Gates, and they just sat there and slugged it out and had some help from nice people. But you know, you get through it. We lost everything. It was about a year later we moved back into the house, and the place started to clean up, and Kingston started to come back. So it was just an experience that you look back today and you think, you know, it wasn't the end of the world.
Wilkes-Barre Township Fire Medic 10, Barnes & Noble Arena Hub Plaza, part of a partial building collapse. Dick's Sporting Goods, Wilkes-Barre Township Arena Hub Plaza.
And then June 13, 2018 rolls around. I was watching the New York Yankee game that evening with my young son. My wife was in Lehigh Valley that evening with family, and she was going to be returning home later that evening. And there was a tornado alert that came through my iPhone. You know, I really didn't think much of it, and I really wasn't watching the news. And then shortly thereafter, my phone started to really ignite with different text messages and different phone calls from different people, including my wife. After hearing from my wife, and then also hearing from one of our tenants at the center named Rich Semanis, who operates with his family Red Leaf Salad Company.
All right, what Red Leaf Salad Company is, it's a restaurant in the Wyoming Valley area. We have one location in Dallas and one in Wilkes-Barre as well in the Arena Hub Plaza. We sell custom salads, custom wraps, custom grain bowls. We also do homemade soups. We have about 19, 20 homemade dressings depending on the season, time of the year. All of our food is made daily, it's fresh. On top of the custom salads, there's also signature salads as well, and like an inviting atmosphere as well. I was actually working at our location in Wilkes-Barre that time. It was within the first year that we've been open up here. As one of the owners, we like to stay involved as much as we can, whether it's serving salads, helping with customers and so on and so forth. Literally that night, I was getting messages that there was a tornado within the area. I was closing that night. I tried to get my staff out of here at a reasonable time. We closed at 8 o'clock. For some reason that night, I wanted to mop these floors. That was the biggest thing. And between 8 and 9 o'clock, as I'm here, it was nice, quiet. The Arena Hub Plaza, there's still customers around here, not shopping within our store, but whether they're over at the arena or they're just within this location, there's still people moving around up here. So I continued mopping, but then all of a sudden, I saw the windows starting to bellow in and out. So that's when I knew something was actually coming this way, coming in this direction. I actually ended up going outside, and my car was parked on the side of the building, and I actually ended up wrapping it around closer to the door in a more safe, secure type of environment. As I was actually coming back in, I shut the door, and you could feel and you could hear rumbling, but at the same time, you could feel the door trying to be pulled out of my hands. I sat there for a little bit holding the door because all I thought about was water rushing in, debris flying in as well. It felt like 10 minutes, but it was probably only about like 2 minutes. But once it went through here, I did go outside. After I went outside, I walked around just to see if anything happened to our building, see if there was people walking around to make sure everybody was actually safe. And I drove around the Arena Hub Plaza. I actually wrapped around near Barnes & Nobles. That's when I actually saw their building missing. Other people that were either stuck inside of PetSmart that were trying to get out as well. And they were all coming towards our area. At that time, there was a couple cars coming up to our area, so I thought the owner, Robert, I should give him a call just to let him know what was actually going on up here. And it's one of those things too. My daughter, I have a daughter, she's 9 years old. Anytime there's a thunderstorm now, that's what she relates to, is what her father went through, right? So she doesn't like lightning, she doesn't like thunderstorms and stuff like that. For me, I think it was a little bit different. I never once was worried about my safety, should I say. I felt safe in here. To feel the power of it while I was holding the door, that's something that I'll never forget. It literally sounded like there was a train running on top of our building.
So Jim Zara had worked in our organization, and I knew him quite well. I called Jim and asked him what he had heard and what he had seen, and he had heard pretty much some of the same things that I had heard. So I asked him if he could meet me so we can go down and take a look at the center, and there was this stuff strung all over the place. We went by U-Haul. There were U-Haul trucks toppled over on their backsides, stuff strewn out on a Mundy Street. There was a gas leak, and you could smell the gas in the air. Utility poles that were down and strung across the road.
And about 7 o'clock in the morning, I had a phone call from a cousin in Harrisburg, and he told me, he asked me if I was all right. I said, yeah, why? He said, well, there was a tornado. I think it hit your shopping center. I didn't know anything about it, so I quickly called Robert, and Bob filled me in on what was taking place, so I went down and met with him.
I met my dad down there later on in the morning, and we were walking around trying to figure out, how we're going to put this back together. At the same time, my father had gotten some phone calls from Senator Toomey, Congressman Cartwright, and others, expressing their concern and support for the cleanup effort. And then Governor Wolf came on site, I think around 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The Red Cross had come. They'd set up a station where you can get water, you can get sunblock, you can get food. I can't say enough about the Red Cross. They fed everybody. I can't say enough about the first responders, because without them, the site couldn't have gotten stabilized in the time frame it could. They kept everybody safe. So then they told us, some authorities told us, the police are only going to be able to be here for so long, and then you're going to be on your own. And that's around the same time we met and got to know the people from Belfour.
And we had Belfour come in there. And I didn't know anything about Belfour, and we were walking through shopping center looking at the damage, and there was a guy behind me, and he was following me, and I said, who are you? I said, what are you doing here? He said, you'll see.
Belfor responds to disasters no matter how large or how small. It could be a $500 plumbing leak in somebody's kitchen, and or it could be a $50 million exposure from a tornado hit on a university. So we cover everything in between. We are very good at managing that disaster, helping people out to know what comes first and walking them through the steps to get them fully restored. I had met Robert Tamburo. At first I could see Robert was trying to wrap his head around, the damage and what had happened as he was walking the site. As I was walking with him, he started asking me some more questions. I told him that we could be a resource if needed, to help first and foremost secure this property. And then, we sat down and we talked about what that looks like.
And then moving forward onto the reconstruction cleanup phase, as far as cleaning up all the debris, removing any wet or damaged building materials, and then starting to put all that stuff back together. So I was in charge of the whole project as a whole, setting up subcontractors, vendors, labor. I had a group of supervisors and assistant project managers working below me.
And if you've never seen a tornado hit, it looks like you just take a building, you crumble it all up, and then it's like a kid's room. You just disperse all those building parts all across. So it looks like a disaster area, almost like a bomb is hit.
So where Arena Hub Plaza is located, a tornado surprised me to go through there. It's obviously in a valley. Tornadoes don't normally hit in valleys. But the damage was pretty excessive or pretty decent.
My initial reaction is that I wanted all the stores back open before the Christmas season. And the reason being is because in America, the biggest time for shopping is what I would call from after Thanksgiving until the end of January.
We were involved for 6 months. Our main objective was to get these retail locations opened up before Black Friday, so we had a date of October 31st as a target date to get these retail locations up, and out of the 11 locations that were hit, we had 10 of these locations back up and running by the beginning of November, so they were all available and operating on Black Friday.
We were fortunate enough, we got everybody back on their feet and open and operational before the Christmas season. The only one that held over a little bit was Barnes & Noble. There were some delays in the way they were going to design the store going forward. So they opened up a temporary store, so they weren't technically out of business by Christmas. But they serviced the location that they chose to operate in through the Christmas season, and then they opened up and reopened their new store sometime in January. So we felt really good that we were able to get everybody back in and operational. We did our best to make sure that there's no scars left behind, so you really couldn't tell that a tornado went through from a cosmetic perspective. And that's one of the things I took away. Like, you could repair buildings, you can't. It's very difficult sometimes to repair people. So that would be my advice to anybody that'd be going through this. Heed the calls, try to stay calm, and do your best to stay safe and away from it.
If I were to be asked the question as far as what are the craziest life stories I have, tornado is one of the top ones. I mean, it's the one that I will tell everybody, my kids, my grandchildren as well. It's something that I never thought I'd actually go through. It's a feeling, it's a sound, it's an emotion that it'll never be out of my head, never out of my body. If I were to hear that somebody went through a tornado, I have much respect for them now after knowing what it's like.
As you said, it wasn't the first dramatic experience in my life. It did happen, and and my son Robert really did a tremendous job on putting it all back together again. We lost our lives, and we're back in business, and off we go.